this is John Colo at DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, I'm going to share with you guys the best way to make green juice once and for all that gets the highest amount of yield, but also the most amount of nutrients. You know, this is 2021 and there is a new way to juice. It is called vacuum juicing by using a vacuum blender. Very important, you gotta have a vacuum blender. The secret to the vacuum blender is the vacuum pump that evacuates the excess oxygen out of the blender carafe before you blend so that you don't get the oxidative damage to whatever you are blending inside the blender. And that is truly the game changer. You want to go ahead and couple vacuum blending so you get the finest grind and you extract the most nutrients out of the different leafy greens and other green vegetables, but more importantly at the same time preserving more of the beneficial antioxidant compounds that could get oxidized due to oxygen of a normal blender or even something like a high-speed juicer, and to a lesser extent even a slow juicer. So once you blend the mixture under vacuum, and today I'll be using the Tribest Dynapro 2250 Vacuum Blender. This is the best juicer that is available right now to do your vacuum juicing that I found. We're going to go ahead and couple that with the world's best nut milk and juice bag. This is the Blendtec nut milk and juice bag. They call it a celery juice bag, but I've used this for fruits and vegetables and juicing all kinds of different things. Turmeric, put a couple links down below to my videos on how I make the best fruit juice with this system, the best celery juice with this system, as well as a high antioxidant turmeric, ginger, ginseng, rosemary, lemon, apple juice that I like to make and drink every day as well. But today we'll be doing a green juice. Now, you know, I'll be the first one to tell you guys that this was not the concept that I came up with. This concept came up with by Tom Dixon. He's of Blendtec fame. He made the Will It Blend series on YouTube, over a gazillion views now. But he really opened my eyes, like literally, to vacuum juicing. So thank you, Tom, if you're watching this. Because until then, I was so committed to the path of slow juicing is the way and is the best way to juice, because you oxidize the nutrients minimally. And you get a fairly good yield, especially if you pick the right juicer for what you're juicing. That being said, when I went up to Blendtec to do vacuum juicing for the first time with the Blendtec nut milk and juice bag, I was blown away by, number one, the taste, the quality, and more importantly, the yield that it produced, as well as the storability and how the juice made under vacuum was able to store longer and stay fresher for longer. In addition, I've been honing my skills as I've been doing more vacuum juicing at my home, and now I want to bring this video to you guys, because here's the thing, right? Even though vacuum juicing will get the highest yield and create the most nutrients, it won't work for juicing everything under the sun, right? There is still no one best juicer or vacuum juicer to do everything. There are always things that a juicer will do better or worse at. You know, for example, juicing fruits, hands down, vacuum blending or vacuum juicing is the best way to extract nutrients out of the fruits. If you're trying to do straight kale leaves, or like a friend I talked to earlier today, straight wheatgrass, this is probably not the method that's going to work for straight wheatgrass or straight kale or straight leafy greens like the kale or the chard or even just straight spinach, because there's not enough water content to get the blender to blend while it is under vacuum. You need to make sure you have enough liquid. So if you want to do like pour in some apple juice and then put it in some kale, you could surely do that, because now you have the liquid. Or if you want to add extra water in there, I don't like to add extra water in there to get things to blend, because once again, into the blender you need to have enough liquid so that it can blend. It cannot blend dry ingredients. Some ingredients such as cucumbers and apples and even Romaine Hearts and celery have enough liquid in there to, you know, create the liquid so that you can juice these items singly, or more importantly, as I will show you in this episode, with your greens. So that's what I'm going to show you guys today, the techniques to make green juice in a vacuum blender so that you could get the highest yield, not waste your greens, and actually it may even be faster than feeding one leaf at a time through a slow juicer. So I'll have an upcoming episode where I'm using a vertical slow juicer and the vacuum blender to juice, you know, like maybe carrots and apples in an upcoming episode. So please be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you see that video when it comes out, because I'll be timing that episode so you guys can see the difference in time and how much time you could save when vacuum juicing. You know, under vacuum juicing, the amazing thing is the processing can be done in as little as 30 seconds or a minute, like literally. But if you're running your juicer for a lot longer. You got to stick each piece of celery or each piece of kale in. It's going to take a long time. The processing goes pretty quick. You got to pre-chopping to, you know, get it set up to juice in there, and then you got a little bit of squeezing. That, depending on what you're squeezing out, could go fairly quickly. You know, just squeezing out celery goes really fast. Squeezing something more like carrots with a deeper, harder texture, you know, can take a bit longer because all the fiber. But also you're going to get some, build some strength up in your fingers, some grip strength, which could definitely be good, because I always encourage you guys to get some exercise. In any case, I just want to get into this video. I'm not going to waste any more time for you guys. Just know that vacuum blending is the way of the future to process your foods, either in a blender without the oxygen or to make your juices without the oxygen. This is the best way, and this is only available now in 2021. I wish I knew about this when I got into juicing. Literally in 1995, I've been juicing like not every day, but since then continuously since 1995. And you know, now I find the best way to do it, thanks to Tom Dixon and his Blendtec nut milk celery juice bag. Alright, so anyways, to make a juice in the blender, you're gonna have to get your blender carafe, and you need to properly load your blender carafe. The other thing you'll need a properly designed blender carafe. That's why I like the Dynapro vacuum blender. This blender carafe, you guys look, is nice and fat and wide. And that's really good, because when you put things in the bottom of this blender, and it has a nice four-pronged blade with a lot of space in between there so things could drop down. It's not a narrow carafe that are on some other brands of blenders that start with a V that many of you guys may own. So that's why I really like this carafe, because this carafe really is suited for making vacuum juices with things like the fruits and vegetables that I like to show. In addition, the Dynapro vacuum blender, and link down below to the whole video on this alone, has a special button. It's a automated pulse button. So if you press the automated pulse button, it'll pulse, stop, and that is an essential function to get vacuum juicing. If you just put blend on high, everything's going to sit above the blades. You need to grind it up and let everything drop down, and then grind it up again. And that's why I like that the Dynapro has this function built right into it, so that you guys don't have to sit there and press pulse or, you know, screw with your blender. You can just press the button once, walk away, come back, and it's going to be ready to basically press out probably in about 30 seconds. So anyways, you need to preload your blender carafe with the ingredients. You can't just put whole heads of celery in there and expect it to vacuum juice. That's totally not going to work. You will need to pre-cut some of the items. And so here's the trick, the main thing. You want to fill the 1/2 of the carafe with non-leafy green vegetables, right? So in this case, the non-leafy green vegetables that I have today are things like celery. Celery can be used for the water content to get your greens to blend up. Something like Romaine Hearts work excellently to make the water content to get your greens to blend up. Something like cucumbers. That's even better than these two guys, because they have a lot more water content. And of course, normally in a green juice anyways, you're putting apples for a little bit of sweetness, because most people don't like to stomach straight green juice because it can be too strong and powerful. Of course, you could also add as much lemon as you want. I don't like to add too much lemon, but lemon is also a great way to add liquid to get the blender to blend up. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to go ahead and preload the Dynapro with about half of these foods, and then once you have it maybe about a half, then the other half you can surely put in all your leafy greens. You know, if you want to max out your leafy greens, you could put in things like, you know, baby kales and baby spinaches, you know, like the whole pound that comes, you know, you could get at Costco and just dump it in there. If you guys have like the large leaves, like this is kale from my garden, you will have to pre-cut that, and likewise I have some Swiss chard from my garden as well. I'll be doing 2 recipes. I'm going to show you guys 2 different variations. So I'm going to do one recipe most are based around cucumbers and maybe some apples, then I'll do the other one based around like the celery and the Romaine Hearts, you know, for those of you guys that don't want to do, you know, like apples or cucumbers, all right? So first step is we're just going to go ahead and cut these cucumbers up. I like to basically just chop them in half. Once we got it cut in half, I'll just slice them into little pieces. The smaller the pieces, the better, but also, you know, I don't want you sitting there all day thinking you got to get into micro, small particles, you know. If you cut them in larger pieces, the technique won't work as well, so you got to make sure you cut them small enough. So, you know, I just, I don't really think about it too much. I just kind of cut it up. Maybe like I'm doing 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch slices is the goal. We don't want things too large because it'll make the blender work too hard. So as you guys can see, we almost got half the blender filled up just with the cucumber slices alone. I think next we're just going to go ahead and chop up an apple into pieces. Now, you know, I personally like to use the apple core. It's determined that the apple core actually has the best microbiome influence, and also the seeds can have some anti-cancer benefit, in my opinion, although some people think the seeds are toxic, so then you might not want to include them. And then, of course, we got a lemon. I'm going to go ahead and put 1/2 of a lemon in this recipe. Now, the cool thing I like about using the blender as your juicer is that this gets the best grinding. So under the best grinding conditions, it turns all the little fibers into like literally sawdust mush. You know, whereas a juicer would grind it up and leave larger chunks. Because you're breaking open the cell walls more, you're exposing more nutrients, and as the bonus, because you're doing it under with the oxygen removed, you're not oxidizing those valuable phytonutrients. So as you guys can see, we clearly got this blender craft even maybe a little more than halfway full. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and take all the dinosaur kale, like one big bunch, and I'm just going to go ahead and chop it up into slices. Now this does not have to be cut as small as if you were juicing this in a vertical juicer, because this will not get caught on the way out, and this just needs to be cut small enough so that it drops down in the blade as your mixture is being blended up. Alright, so that I like. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and start loading in our greens. Now sometimes you might have to preload part of your greens and then do a second blend to get the rest of the greens in. I don't know that we're going to be able to make all these greens in there because there's a lot of extra airspace due to the cucumbers. So why don't we just do an initial blend first and show you guys what that's going to look like. We're just going to go ahead and put our top on and make sure the top is aligned properly or it will not pull a vacuum. Then you take your automatic vacuum pump, you just put it on top and you just press a button. Little blue light will come on, you'll hear the pump start to run, and what's happening is it's actually pulling out all the excess oxygen in between the spaces and taking out the airspace in there. In addition, if there's any dissolved or trapped oxygen inside the cucumbers itself or even apples, it pulls it out of there as well. You know, I'll see sometimes like air bubbles coming out of the fruits as I'm doing this, which is quite amazing to me. Alright, once the pump shuts off, I then remove it, and then I like to put it back on and press it one more time. It should just come on for a second and then cut itself off because it automatically senses when it has achieved the maximum pressure. I think it's like rated at 65 kPa, which equates to be about 19 inches of mercury if my calculations are correct. We could then remove it, and all we're going to do now is just press this pulse button once. It'll blend it up and stop. Blend it up and stop, and as you see it blends it, then everything drops down. Blends it and stops. This way you're not going to overblend the mixture. And finally you can see it starts to catch. Almost all the kale is blended. Alright, one there we go. Yeah, that was 30 seconds. It almost got everything into a nice liquid, so now we're just going to go ahead and manually turn it on. And now we have a nice mush, right? Now we can let out the vacuum, and I want you guys to see this level lower. All right? Then we're going to go ahead and pull this top off, and now we have room to put in the rest of our kale as well as additional ingredients. Maybe I'll go ahead and I'll throw in another apple to make sure we have a nice sweet juice today. Since I don't like juices that are not super sweet. I always like to remove the stem personally. Alright, so we got that apple in there. Now we should be able to fit the rest of this kale without any issue. Alright, all the kale fit without an issue at this point, and now we're going to go ahead and put that top back on, and we're going to go ahead and resuck and pull out the excess oxygen out of the carafe. Alright, once again, the pump stop, we're going to go ahead and remove it, press it again. It turns on, turns off. We can then remove this off, and now we're just going to go ahead and straight up blend since we already have a nice mixture on the bottom. Alright, so we're just about done blending. We have a nice homogeneous mixture in there, and the next step is we need to basically press this out. You know, I used to really not like pressing things through a nut milk bag, but with a Blendtec nut milk bag, it makes it so easy because number one, there's rounded corners, no stuff to get stuck in corners. Number two, there's no drawstring, for pulp or stuff to get stuck in. It's totally double, welded, so it's like super strong, and more importantly, it has actually the right porosity size. And more importantly for me, this cleans super simple. Literally, I just take this outside to my garden hose sprayer and just spray it down, front side. I turn it inside out, spray it down, and it's just totally clean. No scrubbing necessary. Now, of course, if you don't have a garden hose to spray it off with, you can just use it in your kitchen sink on the high pressure spray, and I'm pretty confident that you'll be able to spray it off. Might take you a bit longer than I do. And then you're going to get a 2-quart Anchor Hocking glass measuring cup, and you're going to take the nut milk bag and just basically put it around the pour spout and then bring it back. This is designed to fit right over this perfectly. Then we're going to go ahead and take our blender carafe, and most important thing is I want you guys to see the vacuum coming off and notice the level. It's going to suck down, it's going to, or shrink down because the vacuum basically expands everything so it blends up better. So look at that, it just totally sunk down a bunch, and now we have our mixture that's like a smoothie, but now we're just going to go ahead and pour it in this nut milk bag. We're going to go ahead and do the whole mixture in one shot. Sometimes I might half the mixture up and squeeze out half at a time. Sometimes that works pretty good. But today I figured I'd just squeeze it all in one shot. It might take a little bit longer, but that's alright. So once we have it all in there, then we're going to go ahead and pull this top up. And look at that, we're already just dripping a lot of juice in there. I just basically hold this tight and gently squeeze. This does not take a lot of pressure. If you have arthritis, I don't know, you should be able to do this, but if it hurts to, squeeze, then you might not want to do this, and you might want to get a juicer instead. That being said, this is a lot easier to squeeze out because you don't have to squeeze hard or push hard than, say, using a twin gear juicer. You got to push like carrots into the gears. Plus, this also makes a lot higher yield and also a lot higher quality juice. So, if you're one of those frugal people and you don't like wasting and leaving like juice in the pulp, this is the way you guys need to be juicing seriously, because you're going to get the most highest yield. I've even compared this to like a $2,300 press juicer that is known to get the highest yield, and this was neck and neck. I'd say this is like equal, but in that test I did, the pure juicer, the press, got a little bit more juice. Not much more, but it did get more juice than this method. But, this is the method you could do without spending $2,300. And it makes a higher quality juice, in my opinion. So you guys could see literally in no time, just from blending this up and squeezing it, not even hard, I've made a quart of juice. How long would it take you to make a quart of green juice in your slow juicer, putting one leaf at a time, putting one stalk of celery at a time, pushing it in with the pusher? With this, you just need to pre-cut everything just a little bit, blend it up for a little bit of time, maybe like a minute or so, and then just squeeze out your juice. It takes a little bit of time, but this is actually kind of fun. The other thing I haven't mentioned before is that when you're squeezing the juice out, the juice is going into your hands. You're absorbing some of the nutrients in your hands. I mean, the other day I was juicing purple stuff and my hands were dyed purple, and I've juiced, turmeric and ginger this way, and it's get my hands stained like orange. So I think that's a good thing personally, although it might look unsightly if you have like a, white collar job or something. And we've made over 1 quart of juice, maybe like 1,100, 1,200 milliliters of juice there. All right, now I want to show you the most amazing part. Yeah, I mean, the juice is pretty amazing, but I want you guys to look at this pulp, like seriously. Once we're done, you literally could just shake this pulp out. I mean, this is what we're left with. I mean, this is just solid pieces. If you squeeze this with your hand, no juice is going to come out. I mean, it is so finely broken down, better than any juicer. I don't care if you own an Angel juicer. This does a better job at grinding than your Angel. This does a better job at grinding than your Pure juicer. This does a better job at grinding than any juicer I've ever tested in my life. Okay? So I want you guys to know that. Now, the next step is, if you make too much juice, you can now store your juice. Because the juice was made without the impact of the oxygen, there's more antioxidants in here that will help store your juice longer and protect the juice. I mean, when we drink the antioxidants, it protects us, in my opinion, based on some of the science I've seen. But more importantly, the antioxidants will also help the juice from degrading as quickly. And now I'm going to show you guys how to store it under vacuum using the TriBest vacuum pump that the blender comes with. So we're going to go ahead and pour out the juice. We have about probably 1,100, 1,200 milliliter. And you don't want to pour it up too much. You want to pour it maybe right up to the shoulder of the jar. I think that's maybe like 900 milliliter. So we still have a little bit left. You're going to go ahead and take the flat lids that come with your mason jars. And I like the wide mouth. You could do the narrow mouth, but the narrow mouth sometimes has some challenges with sealing properly. I find the wide mouth works better. Then you got to get a food saver adapter ring for sealing your mason jar. So that just goes right on top. You're going to go ahead and take the vacuum pump, put the vacuum pump right on top, press the button. What's going to happen is the vacuum pump is now sucking out the oxygen out of this little adapter that then basically sucks the oxygen out of the jar. And this will store your juices under vacuum. And literally all you needed to buy to do this juicing technique is the Dynapro Vacuum Blender plus the Blendtec nut milk bag that, when this video is being filmed, it has a 2-for-1 deal. Link is down below to claim your nut milk juice bags 2-for-1. The pump will automatically shut off. You could go ahead and take this off, and now this top is basically concave down because we sucked it in. If we turn this juice upside down, you could clearly see that it's totally under vacuum. You could easily store this now, especially because we got the lemon in there, made under vacuum. 7 days, I would say, without a doubt, in your fridge. That being said, for the highest health benefits, I always encourage you guys to drink your juice right after you make it for the greatest health benefit. Now I want to go ahead and try that green juice I just made. I can tell you guys what it tastes like. It's going to be ultra finely filtered more than any other juicer. It's literally not going to leave any kind of fragments in there because the Blendtec juice bag has such a fine pour size. Wow, man, that is good. I taste the lemon and I taste the kale. Man, the kale is quite strong. Woo, that was a strong juice because we put a lot of kale in there as compared to the other ingredients. So yeah, super delicious. As you guys can see, we got the driest pulp and made the most yield ever. Alright, now I want to go ahead and make another juice for you guys. But before we do, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and reset the nut milk bag. And then I'm going to go ahead and put all the pulp into a little container because I'm going to do something with this pulp later and even get a second extraction out of it. Never before did I show this technique on a video, but I'll do this at the very end of this video so you can see how to even get more nutrients out of this pulp. You know, we pulled a lot of nutrients out, but there's still a little bit of nutrients left in there. And my name is John Cole, and I don't like wasting nutrients, and I like doing things the best way possible. All right, so this time what we're going to do is, once again, we got the blender carafe. We're not really going to wash it out or anything. We're going to use celery. So this is just a whole head of organic celery. I like to buy celery this way instead of the individual stalks. Individual stalks seem to, like, you know, degrade quicker. Plus, this is a lot easier to work with. For me, we're going to go ahead and chop off the top section. And now we're just going to go ahead and chop this into little bits. I shoot for like 1/4 inches, you know, optimally. Could maybe do 1/2 inch, but I like to do 1/4 inches because it'll just work a little bit better. The smaller the size that you cut it. Alright, once we got a bunch of the celery cut up, we're just going to go ahead and drop it in. I mean, we almost got 1/3 of the carafe already, right? Next, we're going to go ahead and use Romaine Hearts, you know. I like using Romaine Hearts because it's a leafy green. It's also low deuterium. Going to go ahead and cut off the bottom stem. Most important, when you're getting the Romaine Hearts, you want to get the hearts, or the ones that come in the plastic bags, because they have a lot thicker stem on them. We don't necessarily want the leaves. We want the nice stem on there. Another stem vegetable you could use is like celtuce, which is like a stem lettuce, or you could use something like bok choy, which is known for its like nice white stems. You know, so that would also work in substitute for the lettuce that I'm using today. Alright, so next we're going to go ahead and make sure you take the pieces from the bottom first with the stem, because that's going to add a lot of nice water content, and drop those in the blender first before you put the leaves up on the top. And as you guys can see, we've almost filled up that carafe already. I'm going to dunk that down a little bit. Next, we're going to go ahead and take all my Swiss chard greens and stems, and we're going to go ahead and chop this up. We want to chop to like maybe a 1/4 inch pieces is my goal, but if I cut like as large as 1/2 inch, I'll be good. Alright, one of the things I like to do is make sure if you're not washing your carafe that all the mating surfaces where the gasket seals is clean. So how I like to clean it is I'll just take a leaf or some leaves and I'll use that to basically brush down the mating surface so that it's totally clean of debris, and just to wipe the rest of that stuff back into the blender. Let's see, actually it would be always best to put the stems in first. There are lots of nutrients in the stems, so don't throw your stems away. They're generally higher in minerals than the leaves themselves, which are actually higher in antioxidants. And if you think about it, celery is a stem vegetable, that's why it's rich in electrolytes. But other stems also have plenty of electrolytes as well. So as you guys can see, this is fitting pretty good, but I think I'm getting up to the top and I don't want to overload this carafe. So we got it up pretty good, and now we're just going to go ahead and do a preliminary blend once again so that we can fit more inside the blender. So we're going to go ahead and put the blender carafe up, and once again we're going to go ahead and put our vacuum pump on and press the button and let the vacuum pump do all the work. Alright, once the vacuum pump shuts off, we're going to go ahead and check it one more time. Totally got a nice vacuum on it. Once again, just hit that pulse button once and let it run. Ran 30 seconds and it didn't quite get everything blended. I think it's very important when you load up the blender carafe, don't pound stuff down, because then it's going to have a hard time dropping down from gravity once it is blending. So we're going to go ahead and hit the pulse button one more time. Alright, we finally got it to blend up. And now we're going to go ahead and remove the top off, and now we can go ahead and add the rest of our greens in there. And when you add the greens, I'm pushing the greens down under to sink them instead of just leaving them on top. The blender can have issues with trying to just suck things that are sitting on top of the mixture. That's why I'm literally taking it and pushing it underneath. Once again, this recipe does not have any cucumbers or apples, which does make it a little bit more challenging to get it to blend up without any additional liquids. So it's very important, if you're doing this style recipe without the cucumber apple, make sure you at least have minimum half of the carafe filled with things like the chopped up celery or the Romaine Hearts or other stem vegetable. Alright, pump shut off. We're just going to go ahead and double check it. Yep, we got a nice vacuum on there. And I think this time, since we got everything mixed up, we're just going to go ahead and put it on the lowest setting manual. Let it run, then crank up to high. And we're going to shut it off. I mean, literally it ran like 15-20 seconds max. Once again, we're going to go ahead and suck the vacuum out, the mixture shrinks down. We're gonna go ahead and we gotta lift this tab up while you're lifting the top off so it comes off easier. Otherwise you could be sitting on this and pushing up all day, but you got a vacuum lock in there. So you gotta pull up the little tab. Next we're gonna go ahead and dump this mixture out once again into our Blendtec juice bag. Tap that down, got most of it out. You could use a spatula if you'd like. And once again, we're going to go ahead and pull our juice bag up. And look at this, already just tons of juice is dripping out. And we're going to go ahead and gently squeeze this mixture out. Now, because this mixture didn't have the cucumbers or the apples, it's a lot easier to squeeze for me. And the pulp will basically be more condensed down because there's actually less fiber in there because we've literally liberated all the nutrients. Like the juice man told me, it's the juice of the fiber that feeds you. So literally we've separated out the juice from the fiber, and that's what we're extracting with the Blendtec juice bag. Alright, after squeezing this out pretty good, we're going to go ahead and fold the bag over once again, and now we're just going to go ahead and wring out more juice. I know those of you guys are going to say, John, why don't you put that in the press? I mean, really, because we got the particle size down so finely, we don't really need to put it in a press. Like, look up the Juicero, right? The Juicero bags, you didn't have to put in a press. You can just squeeze with your hand, and that's what this is like. Like, literally, you can squeeze this with your hand. Once again, you know, we're going to go ahead and take this bag, and we're going to dump out all the excess pulp we've created. You guys can see the difference in pulp because of the color. The chard is not quite as green, and then the celery and the romaine is more lighter green. You can see this is the pulp here. It's just fine. If you just air dried this, it'd be like little fine particles. You could use it actually for additional fiber. This would be good to feed your dog. But I wouldn't eat it. But yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and see how much we made. Actually, on this we made just under 1,000 milliliters, so maybe like 900 milliliters. Let's see if it fills up to the shoulder of the jar once again. Yep, right to the shoulder of the jar, pretty much where we need to be. Next, we're going to go ahead and take our top and take our food saver jar sealer, and we're going to go ahead and put our pump on. Press the button, and we're going to pull a vacuum on the juice so we can save it up to a week. Alright, let's go ahead and pull the vacuum off. Totally sealed properly. Now we have another quart under vacuum. So you guys can see we made literally 2 quarts of juice. No problem in the vacuum blender. What I'm going to do off camera now is I'm just going to go ahead and juice the rest of the cucumber, apples, lemon, and romaine in this batch. But I'm not going to film that for you guys. And then we're going to come back at you when I got all the pulp, and I'll show you guys how you can get one last pressing out of the pulp. Squeezing out the last of the pulp from the leftover produce. That was like cucumbers, apples, and the Romaine Hearts, and the half a lemon. And look at this, in one blender carafe, because I had it filled all the way. I did the double blend once again to blend stuff, and then I added more in. Basically, one pressing, and there's a lot of pulp in here. I basically got 2 quarts of juice, and we got all the pulp left. So I'm going to show you guys what we're going to do with the pulp in a minute. But I want to show you all the juice we pressed out. And this is the mild juice because it's basically just cucumber, apple, celery, and some romaine. Basically 2 quarts. This happened very, very quickly. Alright, look at that. So literally I made a gallon of juice using this method. I guess the time on the camera is a little bit over an hour, but I'm also filming and doing some other stuff. So maybe that's 15 minutes a quart, but now here's the bonus tip. The bonus tip is once you're done, right, you're going to go ahead and take all that pulp that you've created, you can put it back in the blender. And then we got all the pulp from the last pressing here. And this is a lot of pulp, guys. Now I want to get one more extraction out of it. But I'd be silly if you think I'm going to blend this up straight because it's so dry it will just simply not blend up. So what I'm going to do is a very special trick. I'm going to go ahead and add some additional liquid. And the liquid that I'll be adding is additional coconut water. So we have like maybe about 16 ounces of coconut water. We're going to go ahead and add in I'm not sure if this is going to be enough because this is how much I normally do, but we do have an abnormally large amount of pulp in there. So we added 2 coconut waters. I don't think that's going to work because generally what you have to do is you have to cover all the pulp with coconut water, or you could just use filtered water. I like to use coconut water, makes it a little bit sweeter. So this is about right. We've got all the pulp basically covered in the coconut water. Next step is we're going to go ahead and once again re-blend it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull a vacuum on it. And what's going to happen this time is that all the fibers will be now ground up even further in the coconut water, and then we're going to go ahead and extract that for the last time. Now this will not be a rich juice, trust me. We've extracted a lot of the nutrients out already, but there's a tad bit more, not a lot. I normally like to do this when I do like anthocyanin rich juices like purple juices, so I did this with my grape pineapple juice, link down below for that video, and it worked amazingly. So I thought I'd show you guys this technique for those of you guys that really want to just get the extra added benefit. And also you may have kids or you know, a husband or wife in the house that doesn't like to drink your strong green juices. This is the way that you could still give them some of the essence of the green juice and some of the nutrients in there without having something strong. It'll be a lot more watery because basically it's a coconut water, you know, flavored with a little bit of green juice and some chlorophyll and other nutrients that are coming along with the final squeeze. Alright, so once we got a good vacuum on that, once again we're just going to go ahead and pulse blend it. Once that's done and blended, you can go ahead and take it off. Now this was definitely working out the blender a bit. I probably should have put more coconut water, maybe like a quart of coconut water for this much pulp. But you can see it's really mixed up good there. This mixture is going to be, whoa, it all came out in one slug. So what we're going to do now is just squeeze this out. And you can see we're still making more green juice, but it's really mild in comparison because we've extracted a lot of the nutrients already. But there's still some good nutrients left in there that's getting extracted out into the coconut water. Alright, so as you guys can see, we press that out, and then I like to basically just put it back in little coconut water jars that it came in. This is a lot lighter colored, but nonetheless there's still a little bit of nutrients in there. As I said, you know, this could be given to kids or a family member that doesn't like strong green juice, because this is a really mild version. You know, or if you don't have any of those, then you could drink it yourself, surely. I like to drink these more for hydration than nutrition, but at least, you know, it's a green juice flavored coconut water. And once again, I am maximizing my use of the pulp. This is the #1 way to be frugal and extract the most amount of phytonutrients out of your juices, you know, simply by vacuum juicing, which is what you guys learned today. So you guys saw how I made different kinds of juices, green juices in the vacuum blender. Once again, to reiterate, most important thing, make sure you put the watery vegetables at least half full on the bottom first. Don't pack it in there, and cut up your greens, put them on top so that they drop in once all those watery vegetables or fruits are blended up. I use apples today, but if you want to use oranges or other citrus fruits, you guys could surely do that. I don't really like to mix other fruits with my green juices generally, other than apples or pears, maybe sometimes pineapple. So that's pretty much it for this episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode, I would encourage you guys to support me and my work. The way you can do that is by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. If you've learned something that you haven't learned anywhere else and I've helped you out, please help me out by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. This literally pays my light bill, allows me to continue to make these videos, to buy my produce, to grow a garden, and, you know, put out this content for you guys so that you guys could learn the best way to juice in the world on my YouTube channel. You are simply not going to hear this information anywhere else, because I mean, this is my lifestyle. This is how I live. This is how I juice, and now I have the pleasure of sharing it with you guys. Hopefully this has been valuable to you so that now you guys know how to make the highest quality, most yield in the juice in a very simple way using the Dynapro Vacuum Blender and the Blendtec Nut Milk Bag. So yeah, link down below if you guys want to get the Dynapro or even that 2-for-1 buy one get one free right now on the Blendtec Nut Milk Bag. Also be sure to share this video with somebody else. Share this in different juicer forums, with different people that are still using a slow juicer because, you know, that's not the best way to juice anymore. Maybe it was, but now I've discovered this. Also, be sure to click the subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes. I'm coming out about every 5 to 7 days. You don't know where else you're up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 500 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel, dedicated to comparing and contrasting all the different major brand juicers so that you guys can get the right juicer, or in this case, vacuum blender that can vacuum juice for you. Link down below in the description for a few other videos that I've made with the Dynapro introducing this, as well as vacuum juicing things like celery and fruits, and my turmeric anti-inflammatory juice in this very juicer, so you guys could learn how it works and how simple it is to maximize your yield and extract the most out of your produce. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.